Greetings and welcome back to Smartwatch Ticks. Wow, we have an Android watch. Yes, finally, we're reviewing an Android watch. This is the ColMi i1. And the i1 looks like this. It's coming to us from Gearbest. Check the show notes down below. Looking for a coupon and discount, we'll find it there. And the i1 is a flagship model that's coming to us with 2 gigabytes of RAM and 16 gigabytes of onboard storage, running Android 5.1 with all of the 3G standard SIM support for making and receiving phone calls. Regular Android AMOLED 1.39 inch 400 by 400 screen. No camera on this one now, but full SIM card support, and all of these languages are included, as well as a 350 milliamp hour battery. If it sounds familiar, it's probably because it looks familiar. We have a manual in here, and we have the watch itself. Let's pull it out. Take a look. We have this unique clasp. We may have seen that before. We bring out the black TPU band, which is really solid and sturdy band. Got the brand name on the bottom, ColMi. Charging area here. This is where we put the SIM card. There's your heart rate sensor. A speaker on this edge. This is the black model. They have it in silver as well. A round bezel with white marking around it that has numbers at the 3 corners, a little tick at the top, and the brand name here, ColMi, and one button on the side with a microphone. Now, I think you can see the screen protector is on here, and this happens when you get a little piece of dirt or sand or something on the screen, and you're never going to get that bubble out. So, as usual, one of the first things I do is remove this. The glass is fine with me. I have yet to scratch a smartwatch. It just doesn't happen. And I find the plastic is a little resistive when you're trying to swipe. So I'm going to be taking that off. What else have we got in the box? Nothing else in that section. In here, it's a second box that should have in it some goodies we need. There's a screwdriver. Wow, it's stuck to the... Wow, that is strong. This is the charging wire, and then there's a couple of extra screws. So this is all for taking off that cover to get into where you'd put your SIM card for phone support. And yes, this is a standard 4-pin with magnetic coupling charging dock connector that we're seeing now becoming pretty much universal. It just connects right there, and we're good to go. All right, let's get that screen protector off and turn it on, see what it'll do. When we press the side button to turn it on, give it a moment, it vibrates, and it comes up with a really bright, big ColMi logo on it. We have the user's manual here. We didn't go through that. So while it's booting up in its standard Android screen, let's take a look at the English portion of the manual. It's basically unbranded, no name or number, which sometimes tells us that this is a generic manual, meaning that the watch itself might be marketed by different companies using different brand names or numbers. And that, indeed, is the case with the ColMi i1. In a minute, you're going to see what I mean. But this is the overall manual that gives you the basic information you need to get started. Same thing is here in Chinese. All right. We are up and running with the first watch face. This is interesting, huh? Let's look at the watch faces that come with the ColMi simply by pressing and holding. You've got these generic watch faces that are typical on these watches. We've seen these before. And you're going to see that it also supports custom watch faces using the standard technique that we use to put them in, like My special smartwatch ticks Vegas girl watch face. I love that one. And all the others in my full-on collection of watch faces, they work perfectly here on the ColMi i1. Now, there is something I wanted to point out to you, and we'll do that right now. Ooh, not all of them work. Some of them have little glitches like that one, and you see it crashed it and brought it right back to the very beginning watch face. Glad we landed on that one. I'm not sure what the peculiarity is, but there's something annoying in that watch face that works on others that's not working on this one and a few others like it. Let's look at the bezel. Take a good look at the bezel. Do you see something odd going on here? Yeah, me too. It's not off. It's way off, and I don't understand this. Either the watch itself is slightly twisted inside the case, which is kind of hard to believe because it has to line up with the buttons, or they painted the bezel on a little bit at an angle, although it looks straight, but look at that, it's not lining up at all. So, if you happen to be on a watch face that's like this, well, it's digital, that doesn't really do it like that, there you go. Telling the real time might be a challenge because it seems that the alignment of the actual 360 degrees in the watch is off from the bezel markings. You can see that a little more clear in some of these other... Come here, you. There you go. Look at that. Very, very odd. So that's one of the things I want you to know about at least this production unit of the ColMi i1 is that the fancy bezel with the company's name on it doesn't line up with the actual orientation of the watch itself. Beyond that, this operates as a typical Android smartwatch. You have that screen here. You have this one here where you can change your sound to make sound or vibrate only. Raise your wrist to see the time, airplane mode, cellular data, location services. The brightness of high, medium, or low. That's on high right now. And it's not changing because I've got that brightness dimming app running on here, but it goes those three levels, Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. There we go. See, I can display brightness is what that's called. I'll have a link to the folder that has all of the app information in the show notes for you. That's a little easier on the eye on the screen. And then if I slide it one more time, you get to your weather page, which will show the weather in your location, and it's always in centigrade. No, we can't change it to Fahrenheit on any of these watches. So those are the three screens you have here. When you swipe the other direction, you get a voice-activated Google type thing and your step count, and you can't go anywhere from there. When you're on the watch face page and you scroll to the right, you'll get your notifications. Scroll to the left, you get your app drawer with all of the apps. One more time, you get your music player. Yawn. We've seen that so many times before. Here now you have your apps, and it's your standard apps, plus I've installed some custom apps just for testing. The phone, contacts, and messaging all relate to SIM card. There's no Bluetooth calling app installed on this watch. Have not seen that. Your overall settings are your standard ones of sound, display, your app style that you make it matrix or round, your connection for Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, the gesture information for raising your hand to see the time or turning on and off pedometer services to save energy, overall power savings, language and inputs. This is where you have all of the possible languages that you could load up on this watch. And since we have a rather broad international audience, we'll run through these so you guys can take a look, see if your language is supported. Again, this watch appears to be identical to other watches on the market with the same configuration, so the language support should be the same. Your overall date and time, resetting, uninstalling apps, and about the watch. If you guys are curious, we have 2 gigabytes of RAM, 16 gigabytes storage. The model number is the, what does it say? I1. Okay, Android 5.1. And here are your magic numbers. We usually look at that kernel number for the latest update in firmware, Wednesday, August 23rd, 2017, and the build number. Okay, now, as we go through the rest of these, you see you have a sound recorder in here that you can make little voice recordings. This is your file manager that shows you your available memory out of that 16 gigabytes and how much has been used, for which I've installed some core apps that we work with in testing these watches, and your clock skin folder, which is where you'll have all of the clock skins, your custom designed clock skins available. Then you get to your alarms in the clock section where you can set alarms. Not coming back. There we go. Your overall music player, we saw that. Here's the health area where you have your step count. It gives you your China time. I don't know why. And you can start a run or a walk. And that information is available to you in their method of doing health. The Google Play Store is here, a little calendar, and it supports Google Chrome. And then the gallery for any pictures. There's no camera, though, so those would be pictures that you would install. And the Google Play Music. That all comes stock on this watch. This Connect here is the QR code that you're going to use to download the WII Watch app, which is the tethering app that's used for Android watches, most of them, to your phone. It gives you limited push capability. You open up the app on the phone, and then you do this whole thing, and you can connect and pair the watch and the phone together. We won't spend a lot of time on that because we have done that many times before. It's very light on tethering. You don't have a lot of capability, and there are other third-party options that many people use if you really want to have a tethered type of a watch. Most of these Android watches are really meant to be standalone, meaning that they're just going to work on their own with a SIM card installed. Now, the next set of categories, well, there's the display brightness app. I'm almost to the next categories. The reminders, this is another stock app that comes in here, which are basically repeat timers that you can program to remind you when to drink water, or your sedentary reminder, all of that. Google Maps is in here. This is a remote camera. You touch that and you can, when you're tethered to your phone, take a picture. Your remote music, your Find My Phone, all those things are tied into being connected. And here's where you switch between whether you are using an Android phone or an Apple phone. You have much more capability with an Android phone, but you can indeed tether this to an iPhone and have some of the capabilities in these apps that you see on the Android phone. Now we're getting into all of the things that I installed for testing. Here's your basic settings search. We really recommend installing settings search from the Google Play Store, so it lets you get into a lot of the details of what's going on in the watch beyond the operating system that they've given you an overlay that's relatively limited. So you've got that, and you have this gesture search. This is the same kind of thing that you can import contacts or apps or settings, and you can draw letters on the screen. And I'm just going to show you. I'm going to let it import all that I've got so far. And now I'm going to write A, C, C for accessibility. You see that up there in the tiny print? I'm going to go in there, and this is going to let me get access to parts of the system which offers magnification gestures. I'm going to turn that on. When you do, you can triple tap the screen. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Hello? It's embarrassing me. 1, 2, 3. There we go. And it it really, really zooms the screen up. You have a bit of scrolling capability and movement capability. 3 taps in your back, 3 taps, and hold on the last one, and you can really move all around the screen. Because it's a tiny smartwatch, And because it's 400 by 400 pixel screen, the writing is incredibly tiny. So having this gesture search to turn on, gain access to accessibility and turn on magnification gestures, that's really valuable. You can get to it through setting search, usually as well, but if you can't, gesture search is a good backup. The AIDA64 gives us kind of an overview of what's in the watch. This shows you some of the information, including your overall memory complement. And then here's your CPU, your processor. It's a quad-core processor, and there's that information. And on and on. More information is available in this app as well. Now, Antutu, Engineering MTK, your speed test, Wi-Fi signal, all these technical things are tests that we can give you to give you specifics about the performance of this watch. And I'll just simply tell you, I've run them, and it's identical to what we've seen on this watch. This one is the i4 Pro, exact same specs, exact same watch, slightly different bezel, but very similar. It's got white writing with the numbers here. It just doesn't have the name in here. Now, the i4 Plus predecessor does not have any markings on its bezel, and so you couldn't tell if it's misaligned. Well, how does it look on the i4 Pro? I don't know. I can't get it to boot up. I think the battery may be dead in it. But the i4 Air, which has the identical bezel and a camera on the side right there, which is not on the i4 Pro. The Air difference is the camera. I do have that one running. And when you bring it up, look at the alignment on this one as well. Now, I put a face that's similar on here, somewhat similar, and you see that the bezel is off on all of these. In fact, if you look at the i4 Plus with no bezel at all, but look at the overall alignment, if you can get the feel for that, where horizontal is and vertical is. So I don't want to like really badmouth the ColMi that much. I just want to make a note that even its exact duplicate, the i4 Pro, maybe has the same alignment issue with the way the bezel works. It's not that big a deal unless you have a watch face that you're relying on the bezel markings for your north, south, east, west. Other than that, it's probably okay. But I definitely wanted you to see that so you know. All right, that's the ColMi i1 Pro. And it's available from Gearbest. You can check the show notes down below for buying link and coupon. And come on back. We've got a bunch of more watches coming in. And I got a brand new, totally different Android watch to show you. All right, we'll see you soon.